Hey guys, it's Core Ross, and today we're not actually talking Rainbow Six Siege news, but we are talking Rainbow Six. Specifically, the current state of the console version of Rainbow Six Siege. And I'm going to start by saying, yeah, there's a pandemic going on, so I actually don't blame them for any of what's currently going on with the game right now, because obviously they can't do what they need to do because of the pandemic. So I'm actually not upset by that. But what I am upset by is just communication, or lack thereof of communication. And I want to kind of hit basically a few questions for the devs and also to get your guys' input as well and give my explanation of why I think some of these things haven't been done. But of course, that will be my opinion, not actually based on any reality. So the first question is, why has the console patch been delayed? Now, back 6 weeks ago on April 30th, there was a patch released which brought in a little balance and change for Ying because she was a little bit overpowered. She had 4 Candelas. They decided to bring that down to 3. Now that was a good choice. I think everyone pretty much thought, yeah, good idea because she's a little bit OP. But that patch never came to console, and as such, consoles is currently one patch behind the PC, and Ying is very powerful. Now that would be okay if it was a week or two, but that was 6 weeks ago, and that change will not actually come in until the launch of the new season. So in total, it could be about 7 weeks that she remains kind of OP on the console version, which is definitely not brilliant. Now I've got my own assumptions and pure guesses on why this hasn't made it to the console version yet and is being delayed until the launch of the new season. So my guess, and this is a pure guess, is that they did mention that one of the biggest problems from working from home during the pandemic was QA testing. Now, of course, in the offices, and they've got quite a few offices around the world where they would sit down and do QA testing, and of course, they'd sit down with a whole bunch of different hardware. So they'd have different PCs with different hardware, and they can go and test, and they can play games, and they can just see if they can find bugs, and then, of course, fix those bugs. Of course, they'd also have a selection of different console models for all the different PlayStations and Xbox that run Rainbow Six. So they'd better sit down and test them and check them out. Whereas I'm guessing doing that from home might actually be almost impossible, because I would expect they probably do that over a local network, and quite possibly doing it from home is a lot harder to do. And I'm not too upset by them not, communicating this to players, because the Ying thing isn't, game breaking. It's not the biggest of issues. It's a pain in the ass, but considering we're like a week away probably from the launch of Steel Wave, that it's probably going to be, all right. However, that moves on to the next question. And that is, why has Clash not been disabled on consoles? So there was a hotfix that was able to be brought out relatively quickly for the PC that fixed the current Clash glitch. Now that hasn't been done on consoles, and again I expect it's the same reason, and I also expect the reason they haven't disabled her is the same thing. I think they can't test, enough to be sure that it's actually going to, properly disable her and not mess something else up. So I'm guessing that's probably why they haven't done it. But I would love them to communicate this kind of stuff and just say, yeah, things are, pandemic has just messed things up. We can't do it for so-and-so a reason, and give us, a reasonable kind of idea. And then at least we would know that that's why. And obviously people can, when they're playing ranked and stuff like that, can be proactive and ban Clash to try and stop that kind of thing from happening. But again, this is a major pain in the ass. And this is not like the Ying thing. This is a game-breaking bug where it really messes up the game. And especially at the end of a season when people are playing ranked and maybe they're like high gold and they really would love to get platinum before the end of the season, but then they're getting games where they're going up against these Clash glitches and of course DDoS attacks as well. But again, let's move on to the next question for the devs. DDoS or DOS attacks on servers, so either distributed denial of service attacks or just denial of service attacks. So I do have a couple of different questions here. One is, why is it worse now? Like, the last time this happened, it was really bad for like basically months, and it took them a very long time to fix it, which was a real problem. But thankfully they did, and it went away completely, and it was quite amazing. Like, maybe there was still a few, but it was definitely like, 99% of them seemed to disappear. Now it's back, and it's back in force, and it's affecting console players a lot. Now, one of my kind of questions is here, they did implement some fixes. Like, they went ahead and they went from having 3 games per server to 1 game per server. This meant that when the server got attacked, instead of 3 games getting lost, only 1 would get lost. Now, I didn't expect them to keep that going forever, because of course that means you have to spend 3 times the amount of money on servers. Now, I did a video years ago now on their server hardware that they actually used, that they rent out from Microsoft data centers, and it's easily in the millions per month that they're probably spending on these servers. So going from hosting 3 games per server to 1 obviously triples the cost of the servers you're renting out. And as such, I don't expect they kept that going forever. I expect they did roll that back quietly at some point. So I do wonder now, is it 3 games per server? Is that how we're seeing a much bigger hit again? Is it a good idea to go and do 1 game per server again, to fix this for at least a little bit? And also, they did talk about talking with Microsoft and fixing stuff server side in order to try and reduce the amount of attacks against servers. Did that, not work out, I'm assuming? But certainly the devs actually have given us some communication on this. It's not much, but they have let us know that it's an issue. They're trying to fix it. So I can't really fault them too much about this. I would love more information, but because of the way that this is done, I can understand why they would want to keep a lot of it secret and not be too open about how things are set up on the server side. So, I can't really blame them too much about this, especially during a pandemic. But it is another game-breaking issue on the console. And of course, this is all piling up right now and making things really, really bad. And I do actually have a side question for the devs here when it comes to this, and it's basically, why do they think that the console servers get hit worse? Because they use the same hardware, they use the same data center, there's no difference between the PC servers and the console servers, and it's the servers that are getting hit, not the actual players themselves. So is it more likely to be a successful attack on the server because maybe the consoles are more easily kicked off of the server? Maybe, connections are not quite as stable as the PC ones, or is there something, that makes it more vulnerable in some way? And, and maybe there is. And again, this might be something they actually can't even talk about because these consoles are made by Microsoft and Sony. They don't want to be revealing any kind of weakness, so they might not even be able to tell us. But I would love to know if they know why console servers get hit worse than the PC ones, even though it's the same hardware, same data centers, all, exactly the same. But anyway, guys, that kind of wraps up everything I was going to talk about. The reason I made this video is because normally I will keep quiet about issues like clash glitches, DDoS attacks, because you don't want to put more eyes on it and make it more of a problem. But it's now got to the point where it is so much of a problem that I would prefer, obviously, either Ubisoft to let us know just from some good communication about why some of this stuff has not been fixed yet. And I totally understand, obviously, pandemic and all that. And I would love to have a little glimpse inside and them just saying, yeah, this is the reason we can't bring up patches on console right now, because it makes it a lot harder for us to, QA test them. Because one thing that is a really good example is with the Steel Wave test server, there was one patch put out and there was one thing wrong with the patch. It had it was basically a special effect thing was broken. And it was just one thing that was broken, but it meant that Ella's mines, Zophia's concussions, I think Echo drones as well, would make your screen go black. It also meant that Smoke's grenades were completely transparent, so you didn't know where the smoke was. You'd just suddenly walk into them and start dying. And this was just one bug, one single bug. So imagine if they brought out a patch quickly to fix Clash, but it broke something else. It could be way worse than Ying being overpowered, Clash being broken, and of course, the servers getting DDoS as well. So that lack of QA testing could really make things bad, and I could see why they wouldn't patch stuff out right now, because it could cause issues. And that could also be why they don't disable her as well on consoles. But like I say, I just want some good communication here. I just want to get a good little communication with the devs going, where they say to players, this is the reason we haven't been able to fix it yet. And, if they say by Steel Wave, we hope to have all this stuff fixed, but we're sorry, in the meantime. They could also give console players some sort of compensation, give them some R6 credits or something like that to say sorry for the issues and we're doing our best. But yeah, this is why I've made this video now, because it has got to the point of where we have these game-breaking issues, and they've got so bad that it really is game-breaking. So, it's terrible. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Let me know your opinions on this in the comments below, and thank you very much for watching.